the MMA Roadshow, episode number 136 and a half. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee is with me. We are back at the hotel. Da-na-na-na-na. After UFC 217, our man MMA Junkie Pear is over there. He's been kind of throwing some music, keeping the soundtrack going. We're having a couple of, let's just throw it out there, a couple shots of some Belgian Palinka that was delivered to us. French Jerome made the trip over and dropped off a few of the cocktails, and we're enjoying those in the wee hours of the morning. We've just got a little bit of time until we head to the airport to fly back home. And cold coffee, I'm not going to lie, man. Usually this is the time of night where I'm struggling. I'm exhausted. I'm falling asleep. I'm nodding off at my computer. But today, no such problems, my friend. I'm still high after UFC 217. The adrenaline is still coursing through my veins. It was the freshly.com of UFC cards. You know what I'm saying? Just the absolute best of meal delivery service.
Meal delivery services.
Yes, it is the
was
best.
Served. Everything was served just perfectly on a platter right there for you.
It just came. We'll talk more about Freshly in a little bit. Let's talk about UFC 217. Man, I am one of those guys that I hate to say, people, they see a move and, Demetrius Johnson, was that the best submission in UFC history? And truthfully, it probably was. But, you see things, was that the best ever? Was that the best slice of pizza you've ever had? Was that the best drink you've ever had? Was that the... And so I always hesitate because you're like, do you know how many things you're talking about right now to say whether that's the best or not? But this might have been the best UFC card of all time. This was amazing.
It was pretty spectacular. When it gets to main events and main cards, it doesn't get much better than what we saw tonight. And what was nice about it was the fact that the prelims delivered.
Yes.
Just incredible fights. It's tough, seen a lot of really, really good cards, and I feel like we've had the discussion over and over and over was this was the best. This was the best. This was the best. But surely when it comes down to probably ending the night, the last three fights of any card, I would put the last three fights, what we saw up against any event, and I would say the last three for sure was probably the best of any event I've ever saw.
I would agree. The tone was set right off the start with Ricardo Ramos versus Ayman Zahabi. That was an incredible knockout there. It was a fun fight, and then it was an incredible knockout, and it peaks at the very end with George St. Pierre versus Michael Bisping. And I was thinking, what a roller coaster of a night for Firas Zahabi, right? He starts the night off in the corner of Ayman Zahabi. He has to see his brother get brutally knocked out by a spinning back elbow, but he finishes in the corner of George St. Pierre, seeing GSP return from a 4-year layoff to just score an incredible fight. An incredible victory here. Of course, it was long odds. I say long odds, it was a pick, but it's so difficult for any human being to take 4 years off and then to come back, move up a weight class, and beat the champion right off the bat. I picked against him. I thought it was going to be Michael Bisping. I thought the size was going to be too much. I thought the time off was going to be too much. But no, it wasn't. It was a phenomenal performance by George St. Pierre and a gutsy performance because, listen, George came out in that first round popping the jab. And I thought his boxing looked crisp. I thought it looked fast, man. He was really good.
And he looked big, too.
And he looked big.
Holy cow. We were like, oh, look at Bisping, much bigger at the weigh-ins, but when they had the shirts off and just fight, I don't know how much weight he put back on from weigh-ins or not, but he looked thick. He looked big, but he looked healthy.
Not like out of shape.
Super strong. No, not at all.
So comes out looking good, and you're like, okay, he's going to shoot for the takedown, and he did eventually. But he stuck to that boxing game plan for quite a bit and was having success on the feet. And you're like, oh my gosh, GSP is back. Yeah. And then it's the second round, and you're like, oh my God, GSP is tired. You could visibly see that George St. Pierre was getting tired. You're like, oh, here we go. Okay, now the predictions I made. Now what I thought was going to happen was going to happen. Michael Bisping starts taking over, lands a right hand, hurts him a little bit. And you're like, okay, now see, this is what I told you guys was going to happen. This is what I told you guys was going to happen. And then he comes out in the third round, George St. Pierre, digging deep because he's still taking shots on the feet, but he lands the big shot, cracks Michael Bisping, who crashes to the floor. GSP jumps on top, trying to get the finish, and really, I think was really close to finishing the fight just with strikes. So credit to John McCarthy, who was right on top of it, one of the best in the business, no doubt about it. Gave Michael Bisping every single opportunity, and kudos to Michael Bisping. He knew, I can't stay here. I got to move. I got to move.
That was intelligently defending himself. Like there was no point where he just flopped and was taken. I mean, he was moving. I was watching. I was like, oh no, this is it. This is it.
Yep.
But he kept moving. He kept doing things, and and I love how Rogan, I think, sort of set it up. GSP is just so smart about the game. As he's pounding him, kind of steps back a little bit. Gives that opening, which gave Michael the kind of the clear to where he thinks, okay, now I can try to. I'm going to start to make that transition,
Yep.
try to get back on my feet. But he turned and gave his back to GSP, and then boom, GSP was back on it.
That was so quick.
Yeah, it was super quick.
Jumped on the neck, and the squeeze was in immediately.
Yeah.
And I think he knew that was his one chance. He's like, I got to finish this.
Yep.
But it was so deep and so under the neck right away. And Michael Bisping, being the warrior that he is, refused to tap. I mean, you could tell he was in pain. You could tell that not only was it, cutting off the blood supply, but it just hurt. I mean, I'm sure he was crushing the neck a little bit. And he's like, I'm gonna try. I mean, he was reaching back for the hands and couldn't get it. And he goes to sleep, and fight's over. And holy cow, man! It was funny because I said all week I wasn't necessarily super excited for this fight. You know what I mean? I was like, well, I don't know. And as we got closer and closer, I thought, okay, wait a minute. This is two of the greatest in the history of the sport. And some people say that GSP is the greatest of all time. Now I'm excited about it. And then for it to play out in that back and forth fashion, and for GSP to get the win, the crowd to go nuts, Madison Square Garden going crazy. Damn, it was a special way to cap off this fight.
It was incredible. And I'm in the same boat as you. It was from going from one of those fights, you're like, I can't believe this is actually happening. This is ridiculous. To hear everything that was going on fight week, and then you were really getting excited. And then once it started, I mean, in the press room, I mean, we typically, we're editing as everything is going on. You're trying to process through the material. We've had guest fighters come through. We've had all the post-fight winners come through. And by the time we get to this, granted, by the time, for the most part, the two previous title fights, nobody was doing any work. I mean, everybody's just glued to the screen, and you just couldn't eat it up, especially... I mean, it was almost, after watching the first one, watching Rose upset it, and the room exploded during that. And then to go through and see TJ get it, and the room exploded again, and it was just like, can we see a third time? Can we see it again? And so there was so much anticipation going into it, even just from media kind of being blown away by what we saw. So as we're watching it happen, everybody's kind of pulling for it, But then you're right. When there were times when people were like, "Oh yeah, he looks like he's getting tired. It looks like he's getting tired," but it was like, man, he's sharp with his punching. He was doing damage. And Michael was able to kind of cut GSP at that one point, with the elbows. And then you had the whole drum of, oh no, he's not seeing well out of that eye. It's affecting him. Look, he keeps pawing at it. And you're like, oh no. This was GSP's chance, but now it looks like the momentum's gonna start swinging, and then he just did what GSP does, man, and pulled it back out and just made it look incredible. How quick! I mean, even Michael, when asked afterwards, like, was there the chance of thinking of tapping? He was like, I can't remember if I really was going to or not. It happened so quick, and that's what they say when you get it perfectly locked in. It's mere seconds before you're physically out, and that's how quick it happened, and George did a really good job of, as he locked it in, really sort of trapped that hand, the top hand that normally you would attack, way behind his head so he couldn't get to it. And by the time that he's feeling around trying to get it, consciousness is gone. So.
Amazing performance.
Amazing performance.
Cool. And what was cool was afterwards, I mean, George, gave his post-fight speech and then stayed in the octagon for, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I want to say it was like 10 minutes. He didn't want to leave. You know what I mean? It was like he was just walking around, and he actually at one point stood in the center of the octagon with his hands raised and looked to all the crowd that was still there, because quite a few people stayed. I mean, yeah, of course people are emptying out. They got to get on the subway, they get on the car, they got to get home. But for the crowd that was still left in there, especially ones that were waving Canadian flags and that sort of thing, he kind of gave them. And then after that was over, he still hung out for a little while. Like, I think he was just soaking it all in, man.
Yeah.
It felt good to be back. So
that's cool.
Incredible performance. Okay, a couple things. We didn't get to talk to George St. Pierre. But he did go through a battle, and he was transported to the hospital. It was funny. I tweeted that George St. Pierre won't be here. He's been transported. I got a lot of replies right away, like, those damn aliens. But yeah, he's had the alien jokes from time to time. But We didn't get to talk to him, but here's a question. Is he the greatest of all time now? A lot of people, I heard a lot of people chime in and say, this makes him the greatest of all time. I mean, there's arguments. I mean, I think the arguments have always been George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, Fedor Emelianenko. John Jones started to get himself in those discussions, but with all the problems he's had, I think his name has kind of dropped out of the mix for greatest of all time with the issues.
Mm-hmm.
Demetrius Johnson, a lot of people are saying, but I think he doesn't get the love that he deserves sometimes because he's so damn good. But is this the greatest of all time now because of this one fight, coming back after 4 years away, becoming a two-division UFC champion now, becoming the middleweight champ? Is this one enough to be like that's the greatest of all time, or do we still need to see him win another fight or two?
I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, that's the thing about history. I think it rewrites itself so much, by what's currently in your face, you know. And then I think a lot of times too, in our memories, we always sort of rewrite history and what we think had happened, and and it's shaped by those around us, and people influence it and talk about all this other stuff. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think hands down. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I know at one point I believed that he was the greatest fighter, and then he put on some performances that weren't really greatest fighter-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Guys made him seem really human.
A lot of decisions.
I mean, granted, as people's skills, I guess you would credit at the time, I thought they were diminishing. I thought just George wasn't George anymore. People were catching up. The game was catching up to him. And I think the time away, whatever, alien starship that he was transported to, you could tell his mind was still on the game, and he looked amazing.
I think you can say that was a better version of George St. Pierre tonight.
He looked certainly better than the last 2 or 3 fights before he walked away from it.
I think so too. I mean, maybe the fatigue questions makes you throw out some red flags a little bit, but I think that's to be expected. You haven't gone full speed. Yep. It's interesting. I think you could. You said it perfectly. It rewrites itself by what we've seen most lately, right?
Yeah.
So I think right now it's easy to say, just like it's easy to say 217 greatest card of all time.
Yeah.
It's probably easy to say George St. Pierre greatest of all time.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, it'll be interesting to see what comes next because Anderson Silva had the drop off at the end of the career, the negative results, and those are the ones that stick with you. Fedor Emelianenko, the negative results, and those are the ones that stick with you. John Jones hasn't had negative performances in the cage, but he's had all these lingering questions outside the cage, and that's what sticks with you. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. I mean, if he does go out and get starched by Robert Whittaker next or something, then do you go, let's
He didn't seem
tap
like he
the
was
brakes.
too hip to that idea.
Okay, well, that's where I wanted to go next, right? So
he already was like, I think I can go back to 170 is really my weight.
Interesting, right? So that's what I wanted. That was really the main question I wanted to ask at the post-fight press conference. And maybe, who knows, GSP's a pretty smart guy. Maybe he was like, I should really go to the doctor for precautionary reasons right now. Maybe he didn't want to face the media and have to answer those questions because in the cage, his post-fight interview with Rogan, it seemed very much like he was like, well, this is not my division, but I wanted to challenge myself. And to me, it almost sounded like he was saying, and now I'm done. Now coming into the fight, he was like, if I win, I'll fight Whittaker. It's in my contract. But I always thought that was the weirdest thing. Like, I mean, Dana's always said we can't make anybody fight.
Yeah, they can't.
So, I mean, I guess he could say if I'm going to fight, it has to be against Whittaker. He could just walk away.
Yeah. Well, I think they laid it out there for Michael, too. Like, the belt had to get unified regardless of next. Like, they let this one-off happen regardless of who won, that they wanted to unify the belt.
Right.
So they probably put that out there and were saying, all right, you can fight this fight, you can fight this fight, but regardless, whoever wins, you're going to unify the belt. And I bet they were like, yes, okay, we'll sign off on that if that's
whatever.
what needs to do.
Sure.
But again, that doesn't. They can't force him to do anything. You're right. So, but he certainly didn't seem like he was into it. But it was cool watching Whittaker's reaction when the camera went on him afterwards, and he was just kind of like, "Holy shit!"
I didn't get to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a really good reaction. I think he was blown away. I don't think anybody expected that.
Whittaker's got to want that fight because that would buy I mean, what a way to put Whittaker over. You know what I mean? Like if he's not over already, what a way to put him over. But you're right. I get the idea that George St. Pierre doesn't want to fight Robert Whittaker and either wants to just like let go of the title and cede it over, or fight Conor McGregor at 185 pounds for the title. Maybe.
At this point, anything's possible. I mean, how do you stop what a co-promoter does?
Well said. Well said. All right. So great to have GSP back. It's interesting. I don't know how long he'll be back. We don't know what division he'll be back in, but I thought it was a fun fight. For a fight that I wasn't looking forward to, I still thought it was a lot of fun to enjoy.
Yeah.
So didn't get to hear from George St. Pierre. We did get to hear from Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping comes up short. A fight that I think was going his way. I mean, it's just, I'll admit it, man. I'm a Bisping fan. The guy's we've been covering his career for so long. And he does such a great job of promoting events, and he's always so great in his interviews. And man, seeing him go out there and find his wife and kids, and talk to them real quick, give them a quick hug and a kiss before he gets in the cage, and then to kind of end this fairy tale final chapter of his career by losing to George St. Pierre. Bummed for him, but he says he's not done yet. He says he wants to fight at least one more time, and I think that's cool. I think it's cool. I just hope, and I don't want to be disrespectful when I say this because I am a Michael Bisping fan, I just hope they kind of give him a favorable matchup because, he said, look, I don't want my last performance to be me getting choked out on national TV. And that's great, and I can completely understand that. I mean, the guy is such a proud guy and a professional. But, man, you start chasing that final win when you're on the downslide.
That's it. I was going to say, isn't it a little bit better if it happened to GSP in a title fight at Madison Square Garden instead of happening to, say, well, I don't know, Luke Rockhold.
Right. In a non-title fight.
In a non-title fight in London just because, and then what happens then?
Then you're like, give me one more.
Give me one more. And then you take another loss. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would never tell a guy to stop. Well, even though I've suggested it maybe at times. But I thought he was already close on his way out. And I don't know. It's hard to say that, man, you did not look good tonight when George just did what George did. George just looked better tonight. But, yeah, I would hate to see him go down that way. That can be a slippery slope.
I agree.
But I would. I think he does deserve, if he does want to give another try, to do it and let him do it in front of a home crowd.
I like the march in
Send him
London.
out with a big crowd because this crowd, even though a lot of people were rooting for Bisping, he got a lot of boos. He got a lot of shit against him. It'd be nice to have a fight week where the whole crowd is rooting for him.
Here's what I think is I think March in London would be cool, but I'm sure he wants to spend time with his family for the holidays. Mm-hmm. He said he might have some other stuff going on. I think that would be great, but if you put him there, I think you'd probably want him in a main event. But what would be an awesome farewell, if it's possible, is if for some reason they can do that Liverpool show with Darren Till, put Darren Till in the main event, put Michael Bisping in the co-main event. I mean, obviously it sells out. Bisping doesn't have the pressure of having to be, since he wouldn't be in the main event, you don't necessarily have to put him against the most competitive fighter. You can just kind of give him one of those farewell send-off kind of fights. Pick a fight stylistically you think will work for him. Till can be the guy that's got all the expectations and the pressure on him against an up-and-comer, and put him in Liverpool. If that happens, I mean, I haven't heard that's going to happen, but I know Darren's pushing for it, and I think this would be a perfect time to do it. I don't know. I think that would be a cool scenario if it's possible.
Yeah, I can dig it. It'd be a big step up for Till. I mean, I think definitely has some momentum in his way. I mean,
to be main event.
To be a main event, yeah.
Sure, but at least it'd be in Liverpool. I mean, because maybe it's a Fight Pass card. Put Liverpool. I mean, Darren Till could easily main event on Fight Pass. He just did, and then I mean, Michael, that'd be an expensive fight for Michael Bisping in the co-main on Fight Pass. But still.
But I mean, I don't think Bisping cares about whether it's on Fight Pass or not yet.
I don't think
you're right. As long as he gets the money that he's owed, but it's on his terms, I think he'd be more than happy with that for sure.
All right, well let's take a few minutes. We didn't get to hear from George St. Pierre, but I think you should hear from Michael Bisping because he had some pretty good quotes, including a moment that kind of cracked everybody up in the press conference where he told Mike Bond, he's like, "I feel like it was just yesterday I was world champion."
Come on then, give it to me.
Well, Mike, I think it was a great fight tonight. I'm sure you're deflated with the loss, but overall, are you satisfied with the way you performed tonight?
I mean, I didn't win. Ultimately that's why we do it. George was the better man. I felt good in there. Just got clipped. That's the way it goes. You go down. He locked up. He was very strong. He had a good grip. I was trying to fight his hands. Not a lot more you can say really. I felt good in there. Felt like that. When he took me down, I could get up when I wanted. I beat him up with some elbows off the back. He wasn't. I felt in control on the feet. But yeah, God bless him. Good for him. That's the way it goes.
Your pre-fight talk is always fun, but you said he's old and slow, but I thought at least in the first round his jab was kind of quick. I mean, did that surprise you? I mean, were you a little bit surprised by the way it came out?
No, not really. I wasn't surprised. That's what I was expecting, I mean, he's always had good striking. No, nothing surprised me. Nothing surprised me other than that left hook that dropped me, of course. That was a big surprise.
I see a lot of people saying, after taking that much time off, moving up a division and beating you, he deserves to be called the greatest of all time. Do you believe that?
Well, I'd say so. Yeah, good for him. I mean, yeah, why not? Why not? It offers a blow for me, I guess.
Hey, last thing for me, Mike. I mean, you said it right in there. You said, listen, you talked about retiring, but no, you're going to carry on. March date in London, is that appealing for you, or do you need a little time off?
No, I don't need time off. I'm fine. I've got no injuries whatsoever. I'm not hurt at all. I've got a couple of little scuffs on my face, but nothing hurt me. But tonight was his night. Maybe March in London. Yeah, that sounds nice. We'll see. We'll see if I'm free. Hopefully I've got a few things lined up next year. But if I'm free, why not? I'm certainly not. Everyone said to me, "Oh, you didn't tap, Mike. That was great." I said, "Yeah, but I did get choked out on TV, so it's not really a good consolation prize. So I don't really want my last time in the octagon to be me getting choked out. So I'll be back in there again at some point."
Hey, Mike. George said in the cage, I don't know if you heard him, you were standing right there. He said he saw a weakness in you watching on tape that, you were vulnerable to being hit on your left side there. Is that something that you were aware of and that you had worked to try to improve, or were you surprised when you heard him say it?
No. I mean, good for him. I was confident in there. He caught me. Simple as that. It's not like I thought I had some weakness there that I was working towards. Just good shot.
You hit him with a fairly good right hand. I think it was late in the first round, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Were you surprised how he took it? Because that's a punch from you, a guy a lot bigger that you would think might do some damage to him. Do you give him credit for a better chin than maybe you thought he had?
Oh, no, I mean, to be honest, no, he had a good chin. I always knew he had a good chin, but no, I wobbled him. He took it well. That's what you do. That's what you do when you've been around this sport this long. You know how to weather the storm. Pardon me. Yeah, no. Anything?
Quick question. You looked like you were timing him really well in the second round. It also looked like he might have been slowing down a little bit. Did you feel he was getting slower? And how did you think he came back in the third?
I did, yeah. No, I felt him slowing down. Of course, he got me down in the second round. Anytime you get taken down, you want to get back up. But I was landing a lot of good elbows from underneath, and I was landing some punches from underneath. But even though I was busting him up, I was still conscious of the fact that you're losing the fight in that position. Even though I was cutting him open, I knew I was losing the fight. So I thought, right now it's time to get back up. So I felt very positive in the fact that, of course, he got me down, but I was able to get back up in the first and in the second when I chose. So yeah, maybe that confidence was my demise, maybe, but yeah. I did feel him slowing down a little bit, yeah. I could see it on his face, certainly when he started bleeding and things like that, yeah.
Mike, this was obviously GSP's first middleweight fight. Did he feel like a middleweight in there to you?
No, yeah, he looked like one as well. He looked huge. I said going into this, I said he'd probably be the stronger man. He's one of those types of guys. He's a consummate professional. So no, he certainly felt like a middleweight when he had his arms wrapped around my neck.
Who would you like in GSP Whitaker?
What do you mean? To win?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Ooh. Of course, I'm going to say GSP, but probably not. Probably Whitaker. I'd beat GSP in a rematch, but God bless him, it's his night tonight. Good for him. I'm not taking anything away. He did well. He did great.
Hi, Michael, over here. Is there anything about George that surprised you tonight?
No, other than that left hook, no, not, you know, I mean, to be honest, the fight went as I expected. I felt like I was reading him. You know, I'm not trying to take away from him. He did fantastic. He was a better man than me tonight. He got the job done. But, yeah, you know, he wasn't really hurting me with any shots, you know, so maybe, you know, maybe that's why I got a bit overconfident. I know he was going to wrestle me. He didn't feel that strong. I mean, as I said, other than when he had his, you know, rear naked choke sunk in. But he didn't feel that strong. As I say, I was able to get back up pretty easily. Even in the small grappling exchanges that we had, I felt like I was, you know, overpowering him. But nothing, no. I mean, of course I got caught, so it sounds stupid to say that, but it was the fight that I expected.
Okay, and you touched on it there. You said that you might like to headline the London show. Is there anyone in the division that you might want to fight
I
next?
don't know
There's a host of people wanting to fight you.
I don't know about headline. I don't know if you saw it. I just got choked out. So we'll see. But listen, I love doing what I do. You know, I'm from a small town in the northwest of England. I never thought I'd be here headlining Madison Square Garden. And I'll be damned if the last time I do it is getting choked out on TV. So, you know, it wasn't my night, but that's the way with professional sports. You know, one man or one team win and one man or one team lose, you know.
So, Mike, there's, for a retirement fight or whatever the next fight is, there's no one that, you know, a fantasy opponent, maybe a third fight with Luke Rockhold, settle the Ciol Romero business. None of that stuff really stands out to you?
Yeah, I'll be honest. My biggest concern right now is getting to the bar before he shots. Seriously.
Okay, well, I'll make this
I'm not thinking about my next fight. I'm thinking about the bar. You know, when you win, you're celebrating. Everyone's always like, oh, do you go out afterwards? I'm like, yeah, of course I do, because when you win, you're celebrating. And if you lose, you know, drown in your sorrows. And then you get really fucked up.
Well, last thing for me then. Now that it's over, how would you kind of summarize your title reign? Of course, you win on short notice, you defend in Manchester, and then, you know, drop it tonight. But how will you look back on this when it's all said and done?
You know. Feels like yesterday I was champion of the world. You know, I mean, listen, I'm happy. I'm proud of what I've achieved in this sport. I really am. You know, I can't take that away from me. I mean, my kids are over there, and they just said, I thought you'd be more pissed off. And I'm like, listen, of course I'm pissed off. I'm crushed inside. I am. But also at the same time, you got to realize what's important in life. You know, I mean, this is what I dedicate my life to, but I do it for my children. I'm hearing we did over 1 million pay-per-view buys tonight from the top people, so that's good. You know, and that's why I do it. I do it to get paid. Now, first and foremost, I want to win. Of course I do. It's a nice little consolation prize. But to answer your question, I'm happy. I'm happy with what I've done. But, yeah, I'm crushed inside. But life goes on. Life goes on. You know, every time you fight, one man's going to win, one man's going to lose. That's what you sign up for. You can't cry like a little bitch. You know, I hold all respect to George. Well done. He beat me. I felt fantastic going in there tonight. I truly thought I was going to smoke him, and I didn't. You know, so well done.
Michael, just you know, towards the end of that last round when you're getting submitted, was there any chance of you tapping?
I don't know. I mean, he had a good squeeze. I don't think he'd give me a chance to tap. Maybe if he didn't squeeze so hard. I don't know. You know, he lived by the sword, died by the sword, so to speak. You know. But yeah, all right, that was the last question. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Go on then. Which bar? I think it's called Moxie or something. I don't know. That's my manager. We got a few free drinks lined up. So my wife's over there thinking, bloody hell, we had plans tomorrow. But babe, cancel them. I'm gonna be led in bed. Guys, thank you all. Good night.
In the night's co-feature, TJ Dillashaw picked up a second-round knockout of Cody Garbrandt, reclaiming the bantamweight title, picking up the victory in the rivalry match between these two. Although for TJ, it always seemed a little bit less of a heated rivalry than it did for Cody Garbrandt. But Cold Coffee, I said going in, I thought this was the fight that I was most looking forward to, and it didn't play out for a long time, but it did play out for me in very entertaining fashion. The two guys did go at it, man. They exchanged kind of like we thought we would. We saw their striking styles mesh together the way they do. And listen, Cody Garbrandt had a chance to end it at the very end of the first round. He clipped TJ, and when that bell sounded, TJ was like a deer on ice walking back to his corner, man. It was not good.
He was definitely stumbling.
He was in trouble, and then I think he was pretty well recovered going into the second round. So it's not one of those situations where, like, you know, I never understood why Anderson Silva didn't attack Michael Bisping at the start of the fourth round. You know what I mean? I thought he let him off the hook. I don't feel like Cody let him off the hook. I think he was pretty good by that point. But then Cody Garbrandt comes back and gets the big shot as well and picks up the knockout victory. And, man, fun fight. And I don't know. I think this is a fight we're going to see again in the future sometime.
I agree. There's certainly no loss of aggression between the two. I mean, I think TJ, for the most part, said he was never really all that pissed off to begin with, you know,
Right.
and it definitely showed that he kind of kept his level-headedness. You know, I know I had questions about whether or not, you know, it wasn't going to show, but he was definitely into it, and I think you saw that release at the end, you know, all that frustration and sort of rage got out, and Per got a great shot of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy because gets the knockout, and then basically Cody stands right back up, but he's not, like, you can tell he doesn't know exactly where he is.
He wasn't quite there yet.
And they end up, like, I think Dillashaw was just kind of running around, but basically, like, they ended up going, like, face to face.
Yeah.
And TJ was screaming, just kind of, as you said, letting out that emotion, just like, ah!
Yeah.
And their face, it was weird. I was like, oh, this is going to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, I mean, Cody wants the rematch. TJ's like, if the UFC says so. But I think that I like the idea of TJ calling out for that DJ. And, you know, Dana still wasn't ready to come off with that big check for it, you know. But, you know, I think he had a good way of explaining it. You know, your partner towards the pay-per-view, you know, you help sell it.
Yeah.
You know, that'll get you the money that you want. But, yeah, I think these two will definitely fight again. I mean, it certainly, I was trying to see on some of the shots if it showed the team, and we saw where TJ's brother kind of yelled over at the team, and Cody kind of got into it, you know, yelling back or whatever, got in his face or whatever. So there's definitely no love lost still between the teams. You know, we thought or hoped that it would kind of get squashed a little bit, but it certainly seems like it's still there. It was respectful in the sense that afterwards, you know, they were able to shake hands. Cody even clapped, you know, when TJ was announced the winner. So there was definitely that respect amongst rivals and those that are willing to get in there and do it. But yeah, it certainly seems like the desire to still punch each other's faces is still right there.
Well, let's start with Cody because you know, Cody was the rising star, right? I mean, the guy's got an incredible style. That performance over Dominic Cruz was just insane,
unreal.
And then, you know, he's got the look. He's, you know, a good-looking cat with neck tattoos, and, you know,
from a fine state.
Exactly. So he it's no K-State, and your fellow Buckeye. But, you know, this is certainly going to put a hold on that. But you know, I think he's got plenty of good performances in the future, and I think he's still, you know, if he's not the number one bantamweight in the world right now, he's number 2. You know what I mean? He's still going to have big fights. But it was interesting because you always want to see somebody handle themselves with dignity and class and defeat. And he did. I mean, he showed up to the press conference, and, you know, I think he said a lot of the right things. But I did see already, you know, some comments and stuff where people, I think, are kind of hating on him a little bit for saying, listen, I respect him as a fighter. I still think he's an asshole. I still don't like him as a person. What do you think? I mean, did his comment strike you as just honest and real, or did you think, tone it down at this point, you guys have done the fight?
No, I mean, I wasn't too upset about it, or not upset about it, but I wasn't too shocked by it either. I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, if you had to peg taking pages out of people's books, remember when a certain someone lost a fight, you know, and rather than people jump off the bandwagon, you know, they accepted it when he said he just didn't really gauge the energy. It was
Conor McGregor,
you know, a bad use of energy.
With class,
you know,
people dug it.
You know, so I mean, but even then, you know, he wasn't really like
giving props.
Giving
to the
too
guy.
much props to the guy that beat him.
He was saying he didn't really beat me. I just made a mistake.
I made a
mistake.
mistake.
Not what he did.
About my energy, you know.
Right.
So in this instance, you know, Cody phrased it, I think I'm still the better fighter. You know, he had a better night, but he did say kudos to him. I give him props. You know, I give him respect. You know, if people want to, people are always going to sort of hate. I think there's some that,
True.
you know, and some of them might have been people that were riding Cody's dick the day before.
Yep.
Then as soon as he loses, they're like, see, I knew it was bullshit.
Yep.
I was just along for the ride. The people that like Cody are still going to like Cody, and they're going to understand when he says what he says because they still think he does have a lot of tools. But I'm telling you, Cody, when it comes to his hands, super strong hands, super speed. But TJ took some really good shots, got right back up. But Cody TJ, he was using the kicks. He was moving around, and his moving, it was interesting. He was doing some different little things, where he before would kind of do these little erratic moves. He was kind of putting these like pauses in there.
Yeah.
Kind of go to the side and do like this little pause.
It's Dominic Cruz-esque on the surface, but it's a lot different.
It's different, and it seems like it's changed even since the last time that we saw him. Like he's put some extra little flares and different things into it. Almost like if I make this move, I'm going to see if he's going to anticipate it and start throwing something, So by putting the pause in there, he's maybe giving himself a little bit more time to kind of counter it a different way. But he looked good. He looked smooth. And kudos to him. He did take that hard shot at the end of that first round or whatever, but he popped back up, And I was wondering how he was going to be in the second round, but yeah, he looked like he completely shrugged it off. So man, he continues to impress, and I've always been impressed by how he's been a humble dude.
For sure.
Could be. He was a former champ before now being the champ again. He could have been a lot more bold and brash, and could have talked a lot more shit. But he's one of those guys that never has been one of those ones to just be really too brash. Even though a lot of people the whole snake thing and the hissing and everything that we saw this week. I was a little surprised that so many people
hate him.
Were acting like they hated him. I don't know if they really do, but it certainly seemed like it.
A big section of the crowd started yelling, "F you, TJ."
Yeah, I was like, "What the hell?"
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I'll say this about Cody Garbrandt. I liked his emotion. To be honest with you, I liked his emotion in the post-fight press conference. Yeah, maybe it's not what you want to hear. Maybe you'd prefer he say he's, buried the hatchet or whatever. But the truth is, he just doesn't like the guy, and that's never going to change.
And it doesn't have to.
And it doesn't have to. But, he had to fight back tears as he talked about the fact that he loves this. It's his passion. He's going to be world champion, and I can respect that. Somebody that cares that much.
Oh, yeah.
That's that emotional about stuff. I can respect the hell out of that. Meanwhile, TJ Dillashaw said in the cage afterwards, "I want to go down to 125 and fight Mighty Mouse." He was saying that he already wanted to do it before Demetrius Johnson got to fight Ray Borg. That fight didn't happen, of course. We talked to Dana White afterwards, who stopped by. He said, "Look, I'm still interested in that fight." And in fact, it makes more sense now because now you have two champions going against each other. And, TJ Dillashaw said, "Look, Demetrius, you can't run from me now." He's like, "Dude, you've been saying you want the money fight. This is the money fight. You're talking about two champions in two weight classes."
Yep.
And I think it makes sense. You know what? Sign me up. And I'm not taking away, anything from anybody in the flyweight division. There's some up-and-coming contenders. There's some nice young talent there. But, yeah, to be honest with you, Demetrius is always looking for more attention. He's always looking for a chance to make a big payday. I think this is the right time.
It is, but Dana certainly didn't seem like he was willing to throw out the dollars for it.
Well, that's the thing is Demetrius is saying, I want $2 million, right? But Demetrius says, "I want $2 million to go up to 35."
Yeah.
TJ's saying, "Listen, I'll come down to your division." I think
at that point he can't really deny it. Then it's
that's what
like,
I'm saying. Listen.
Then it's just another competitor coming to your thing. They put shows on to create competitors for him, and he didn't raise a stink about that. So why would you raise a stink if they took a former champ, or not a former champ, but a current champ that wanted to come down to your weight class? It makes sense. And I think at that point you can't go then and say, okay, now I want $1 million or $2 million to fight what you were going to do normally, So it'd be an interesting fight, I'd be more than happy to see it. I think that'd be a great, great fight.
I do too. I love it. I think you got to do it. I think if you're Mighty Mouse, you got to do it. You got to accept the challenge. I think it would generate a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And with a lot of attention comes a lot of money.
Yeah.
Speaking of a lot of money, if you want to save a lot of money, you know what you do?
What should you do?
You go to Freshly.com.
Oh,
you sign up for the delivery service. You use the code ROADSHOW for the promo. You save $40 off your first two orders.
Yep.
my first 2 orders are sitting at home right now. Yours is still on the way, I understand.
I know, man. That hasn't showed up yet.
But you got to be, well, that just means your Freshly is going to be even more fresh.
It's going to be fresher than yours.
It's yourfreshly.com is going to be fresher than myfreshly.com.
Yeah.
Mine's a couple days old now, but it's still good because they send it in these refrigerated containers. My wife showed me a picture of it. It looks awesome. And now when I get home, I'm going to have ready-to-eat food, which I need because I'm going to be exhausted.
I know. I might come to your house to try some with you.
You think I want to cook tomorrow? Dude, we're going to be exhausted. I'm
We're
hoping
gonna
I
be
can sleep
tired.
on the plane. It's
gonna
been
be
a
tired.
long week, but I still want good food because you know what? I'm carrying
And it's healthy food.
I'm carrying a few extra LBs right now. You know why? Because here's what happens. I'm tired, and I'm like, let's just go to B-Dubs.
Yeah.
Let's just go to B-Dubs.
Yep.
And then I order some wings. I do love me some wings. Especially love hot wings. And I also love the new feature they have right now, the mango barbecue mashup. It's good.
Yeah, that sauce is good.
Really good. It's fattening.
It is.
And then the cold beers that I have with it don't necessarily help either.
Yeah.
So instead, I can have food that's ready to eat in 3 minutes, and it's been made by chefs and nutritionists working together. And it's good food. I haven't tasted it yet, but I cannot wait to taste it.
I'm excited. And they can make it even easier. You can go to our website. It says Freshly right on the right-hand side. Just click on it. Just click on the link. It'll take you to freshly.com and already have the code program.
So you only have to remember the promo code Roadshow, which is
super easy.
Super easy. I mean,
because you're listening to the Roadshow.
It's the Roadshow.
But I mean, it'll put it in there, and it just says that it's going to apply it to the checkout.
Yep.
And it's $40 off for the first 2 weeks, so it's $20 off your first order.
That's right.
$20 off your second order.
And you can change the quantity, how many meals
whether
you
you want
They
the
got
6
plans.
weeks, whether you want the 9 weeks or 9 plan, 6 week plan. All that good stuff. But yeah, man, I'm totally jealous. Every picture I've seen about it looks absolutely amazing. I love that it's like gluten free. It's lower in fat and calories than anything I would make at my place because I usually put all the sauces and the seasonings and all that other kind of stuff.
I've seen you cook at your place.
I know.
You cook well.
I do, but
there ain't no registered dietitian.
There's no dietitian there.
No.
There's no dietitian happening in my house.
So
I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. So if anybody wants
thank goodness to Freshly.
I appreciate the folks at Freshly. We appreciate them getting behind the MMA Roadshow. And if anybody wants to go on that journey with us, do that and just hit us up on Twitter and let us know what's going on.
Makes a great gift for you. Say if you got maybe a family member that's like, oh, hey, I want to come over and eat dinner at your house. And you're like, man, I really don't want mom to come over.
Yep.
You can get her some Freshly. She could stay her ass at home and eat that Freshly.
Like, Mom, I would love for you to come over, but I just ordered this meal
I
delivery
just ordered
service
this
for you.
meal thing
It's
for
gonna
you.
be fresh. It's going to be easy.
At your door.
I love it. I'll tell you who else was fresh. Rose Namajunas.
Oh,
Ice cold. You talk about refrigerated packaging. Ice cold Rose Namajunas. That performance against Uoidi and Jacek. Listen, weird, right? Because we said all week, like, listen, she's a live underdog. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't pull the trigger. I couldn't pull the trigger because Joanna has just been so dominant and so amazing. But I'm telling you what, with each day this week, I started leaning more and more in that direction. I started leaning more and more thinking, I'm making a mistake here. And it was that same bizarre feeling that I had down in Australia where Ronda Rousey was acting a little different, going a little bit over the top, being just too emotional, too like, I'm the alpha female, I'm the best in the world. Not that she wasn't
just out
at
of
the
character.
time.
It was very out of character.
Yeah, I thought, and again, emotions and character don't win fights. I mean, that doesn't, I'm not trying to say that, the reason Rose won was because Joanna wasn't focused because she was emotional. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But it was just this weird thing where you're like, something's not right here. Something's not right. And Rose Namajunas came in there and just absolutely capitalized. This performance, I mean, listen, I know I caught myself with my jaw dropping. Our good friend MMA Junkie Pear over here, actually somebody sent him a video. You can see him behind, he's kind of holding the camera down for a second, trying to figure out where he's going to shoot next, and all of a sudden the big left comes in, and you can see his mouth just go as he's picking up the lens to shoot the finish. And I mean, this performance was stunning. I just can't think how you can get any better than what she did. And when you just add it all in to how she acted all week long, the way that she was never intimidated once, she was never, frustrated, I guess. And it sounds like, man, there were so many things that went wrong. I didn't realize, to be honest, I hadn't seen that her flight was delayed getting in.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the way Joanna was treating her all week, touching her at the weigh-ins, where even Dana was like, and not just touching her. I mean, it's like one thing, like Bisping would grab GSP's hand, and you're like, I mean, putting your fist in somebody's mouth, like that's disrespect. You know what I mean? And dealing with that, and then of course even tonight we find out that the UFC accidentally played the wrong walkout music for her, like they played the wrong track. I mean, in her head, Rose has to be like, what else could possibly go wrong? And then she goes out and does that.
Yeah. I mean, it reminded me similar when Joanna took the belt, and beat Carla Esparza and just made Carla. I mean, everybody was like, "Who's this girl coming in? That's this striker, this girl." But Carla's wrestling. There's no way. Of course she's going to win, and just got starched. Rose looked so much better than anything I've ever seen her do before. And watching her in Invicta, she's pulled off some slick moves, but her striking, it was just such superior striking that she was doing today, that it was just, she was in a different mindset, and it's, we had talked about, we went back, and I even showed Abby, I went back to the ceremonial weigh-ins where she had told Joe Rogan that she was saying the Lord's Prayer,
right?
And played it, and you could actually follow her lips. You could see where she was going along with it, But there was, and I heard that she had a real emotional moment after that. Back in the back, I think her emotions really got to her, and I think she was crying in the back after the weigh-in, and it was probably just a lot of frustration and just like, let me get to this fight and just deal with this. I know she dealt with things and emotions and stuff in the past, but she was able to bottle all that up and put on what I think is probably the best performance that she's ever done, or just looked like everything worked together, game plan and everything. She stuck to it. She was controlling the octagon. She made Joanna just look like she was not a beginner, but she looked like she was just not there, like something else was going on. And but then again, Joanna comes to the presser and was very humble, and you just can't help but just want to keep rooting for her. I mean, I love Joanna. I think she's just an incredible athlete, and even though it was sort of out of character what she was doing it, and she was doing it to another fighter that I really, really like and respect as well. And sometimes it's kind of tough to try to stay separate, when you see it and you're like, oh, I don't want to think badly about this, it's just part of the game, and oh, I really feel for her. I kind of want to hate the person that's doing it to her, but you kind of have to sit back and just let it sort of play out, because there's a lot of mind game action that goes to it. But then you get something like this where even in defeat, and maybe not, you'd like to see it even before, but seeing somebody kind of really humble themselves but still have that champion drive in there, they're going to get back in there, and you just makes you want to be a better person, like seeing how she acted after that. I was like, man, I've taken some defeats in my time, and I know I haven't taken them as well as that, but for her, she looks like this was probably something that she will turn back around and become even better and even more focused. And you can try, and you can train. She was surprised by what she got caught with, and we've said that before. You could come in there the most prepared that you've ever been. You make one little mistake and you get caught, and then it's game over.
You can have a great camp where you fight bad. You can have a bad camp where you fight great.
Yeah, I mean, and you can have the best game plan in the world, but that all goes out the window, and somebody catches you. And she even admitted that she thinks that she maybe wasn't really fully all the way back.
Yeah.
After that the first knockdown that she took,
never fully recovered.
She never fully recovered.
I will say this too. I will definitely agree with you. Joanna handled herself with class, with dignity. She came in. I honestly, to be 100% honest, I did not expect Joanna to come to the post-fight press conference, and I did not expect Cody Garbrandt to come to the post-fight press conference.
She had a great answer, though, when they asked her. Like, the guy was kind of proud. I don't know if he was trying to be a dick to the UFC, where he was like, why did you come? You lost. You don't have to be here. Why did you come? She's like, well, you see me in the bad. You see me when I'm in the good.
You guys deserve this.
You deserve to see all that. And I thought that was incredible.
And I don't think she just meant you, the media. I think she just meant everybody. You, the world. Like, you deserve this.
She knows where her message is going out to, and I thought that was awesome. I mean, Bisping came, did the same thing, and that was probably one of the best things of the night. The dude came down and was just funny right from the get-go, you know. So I love it when people, you know, do that sort of thing. It just helps me respect them even more.
Absolutely.
You know, that's a professional right there. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's a professional. So the next step for her, you know, she mentioned that, hey, she'd been thinking about going up to 125. We kind of knew that already. She was the last person to weigh in on Friday. She usually is. She usually looks a little bit drawn out. She didn't have to use. She didn't have to use the hoop. A lot of times she's done that before. It doesn't look like it's an easy cut for her. She did say, listen, I'm going to be strawweight champion again. I just wonder if maybe after she chills a little bit, you know, goes back and thinks about it, maybe, you know, people talk to her and say, I know you want that belt again, but technically you've already been that champion. Why don't you go to the new weight class, be easier on your body, and you get the opportunity to be the first two-weight women's world champion, you know what I mean? So
Well, to do that, she'd have to. Well, I see
no,
what you're
yeah, not
saying.
simultaneously, but you know, two-time, two-division. I wonder if that's the better play for her. Like, you know, it's one of those things that, I mean, you could tell she's such a fierce competitor. Like, it's going to burn inside of her that, like, I have to answer this question. I have to get this back. And it's funny because, you know, we talked about it on the pre-fight show this week. We're like, you know, maybe this is the rival that, you know, Joanna and Rose can have this rivalry. And, I mean, who the hell wouldn't sign up to see that again? You know what I mean? Because how different would the psychological dynamic be and everything? Now, you know, you don't get Joanna trying to come in and play the bully. She can't be the bully. She just got knocked out, you know? So I'd love to see it again, but I wonder if the smarter play is for her to just, you know, rather than put herself in there, kind of like, you know, we're worried about Michael Bisping chasing that final win when it might not be good for him. I wonder if chasing that 115 title might be a mistake and she'd be better served just saying, you know what? I had my run at 115. I'm too big now. I'm going to 125.
Could be. I still feel like she wants to. I think she wants that belt back, but she also wants to get that loss back. I think she firmly believed. I mean, the two losses in the UFC that Rose has had, Carolina, Carla, both of them. Mm-hmm. You know, Joanna starched. Well, not starched. Carolina, she didn't really starch. That was a good fight. But I mean, I can see where she's like, I believe I can do it. And I think she wants to run that back because I think Rose put that doubt in her, a little bit of doubt of whether, you know, is she really the best? Because you did just get beat. But I think, I mean, that's a fun little possible rivalry right there. But I think she wants to get that back. I think for her to admit there in the post that her announcement or whatever was that she wanted to go up, she wanted to do the heavy thing, but that was when she had the belt. You know, things sort of changed that when she lost it. So I think that she does believe that at least that strawweight belt, that's her ground zero. That's her starting base. I think she feels strongly because she knows that she's dominant at that. Anything above that, then she starts getting into the waters that she's not quite so sure.
Yep.
So if she was able to go up, try to battle, and plus too, it makes it a lot easier to immediately challenge for a title if you have a title.
That's right.
You know, once you don't have a title, how can you try to just go up and then go?
Right.
So she'd have to work her way through it and start going through some people. She might not have to go through as many because she's a former
But maybe
champ.
not walk right in like she.
But she's not going to walk back in, which she could have did. So
Easily.
now I think she wants to
Jane
go
even
back.
said, "Would you have done that?" Hell yeah, I'd have done that. Like if she'd have won tonight, like she gets to do anything she wants.
Yeah. So I think she wants to get back to that point. I think she wants to be a champion so she can have the ability to move up and down. But I think she really does also. She'll want to get this win back. I think this is going to put a serious fire, which she's never seemed like she's lacked for motivation. But now she has that target. She has that person that I think for a while she hasn't thought that there was one in her division.
Yep.
Now she has one. Now she has that, you know, in the Rocky when you see him training and he used to have Clubber Lang's picture up on the thing. You're like, now Joanna's going to have a little picture of Rose sitting on that mirror every day. So when she wakes up, she's going to go in there and then she'll get all mad. She's going to punch the mirror. Then go to Russia and Siberia and train in the winter.
I love it. I'll tell you what, sign me up for 2 more fights between these two. I mean, I know that would assume that Joanna would win the second, which there's no guarantee of that. Rose, at 25 years old, seems like she's just getting better and better. But sign me up for 2 more fights. This fight became so emotionally charged during fight week, man.
Yeah.
It was amazing. All right, Rose Namajunas. I think it's interesting, right? Because I think, you know, she has star quality. She has that X factor, that it factor that you can't define. You know what I mean? Like there's a presence about her, the way she carries herself. She's not the most well-spoken person. I don't mean that as an insult. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for a spokesperson or like to champion a cause, whatever, like I don't think she's necessarily like incredibly comfortable talking. Basically, not that she talks poorly. It's just I don't think she likes it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, she's very soft spoken.
Yeah, I just get that's what I guess. I mean, you think about like a President Obama out there, just like charismatic, leading, talking. You know what I mean? Like, that's not her. Like, I think she's like she'll answer your questions and she has interesting things to say and she's very open and honest. She's just very quiet and to be honest, I don't get the feeling that she necessarily loves doing media. But she definitely has a star quality about her, man.
Yeah.
And this was a star-making performance. She is capable of such great things. I'm extremely interested to see kind of what the next move. If it's not a rematch, if Joanna, isn't ready right away, I mean, where do you go from there? You got Jessica Andrade hanging out up there. Claudia Gadelha is there. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see where she goes from here. It's wild because. Here she is with not necessarily the best career record early in her career, but she's still so young, and goddamn is she talented.
Yeah, I mean, she's only now 2 wins removed from her last loss.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
It is kind of crazy, but Joanna seems like it would be the ideal next match. But
do it again.
I would love to see it. I think I just don't know if Rose wants to take a little time off, and maybe in that time, Joanna picks up another fight. I think that's the only fight that Joanna really wants is that. And I wouldn't try to. I mean, it makes sense for her to wait and get that rematch or push for the rematch to be the only fight that Joanna gets. Rose, I mean, if she really wanted to be a baller, we'd just be like, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it again. I'll shut you down again.
I'll shut you down again, and then you can walk away and be done with it, But she would never actually say that because she's too humble for that.
Like, okay.
She's like, I loved at the end, man. She was just like, this is a sport. This is what we do, but there's too much hate and BS, whatever. Can't we all just be nice to each other, and can't we do all that stuff?
Put positivity in the world.
Yeah, I was just like, what a great speech at the end. What a great sentiment that she has. So I would love to see it again, though, just for the fact that was so much fun watching. And if that's what it takes to push Rose to be that Rose, then I want her to fight that kind of level because she looked fantastic. I mean, I've always admired her fighting style, and it just gets better and better. And she's a good person.
I thought she could win this fight, but never in a million years. I think she would just lay out Joanna.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards. I mean, even though she's quieter, I mean, she has that star power in her. I think when she kind of just took a step back. I mean, she'll put it out there and she'll say if she has to, but I think she is. She's more introverted. She keeps to her close friends. She keeps to her friends and her family and her dog, and she's fine with that circle. But I think people when they listen to what she says and pay attention, and
it's powerful.
I think they'll really understand. Yeah, she's got a sharp mind on her, and she's got a big heart, and that's the kind of person that you want to be a champion.
I wonder, it's kind of funny, it didn't dawn on me until now that you were just talking about, like, I wonder if in some way it could almost be like the anti-modern era of MMA where it's all trash talk, kind of like a GSP, where a GSP is just...
That's like GSP.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if there's hell, and even TJ Dillashaw to a point, maybe this is a shift towards that a little bit. So, hopefully they can be successful. So, I thought Rose put on a fantastic performance tonight, and I think she deserves to get her words out there, her message out there. So let's hear from the new strawweight champ.
Hello.
Rose, it seemed like you were still a little bit in shock when you were in the cage, kind of letting it sink in. I know it hasn't been that long, but has it sunk in a little bit? And what is the emotion for you at this moment?
Just gratitude. It's been a rough week up until the fight started. It was just seemed like everything was trying to distract me and be thrown in my face, and but everything, I just kept listening to my coaches and just trusting them, trusting myself, and I got the job done.
We talk about being a rough week. Was it just like the way she was acting towards you all week and the way things are playing, or were there other things happening as well?
yeah, that was part of it, but just, get my flight delayed and, just little things here and there. All the sirens outside, not being able to sleep very well, just not playing my walkout song, just everything that, you're thinking like, this is not my moment, but, I just didn't pay attention to that, didn't let it stop me.
We didn't know until just recently they played the wrong walkout song for you. So what's that like? I mean, all these things are going wrong. Or is there one last minute of self-doubt? Like, what else?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, the one thing that that kept me calm was, like, I've been in situations like this where I felt like, things wasn't running smooth. And I've learned from those. So, I just kept telling myself to stay calm and, just don't pay attention to these outside things that I can't control. All I can control is myself, and just keep having a positive attitude.
Once you got in there, the performance was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you said that you thought you'd get the finish and all that, but I mean, did you ever see going in there and dominating her on the feet the way you did?
I had a feeling that I was going to knock her out in the third round. So for it to happen in the first is great, especially it's kind of a weird coincidence, but it happened at 3 minutes and 3 seconds, which is our gym name and our area code, Denver, which, I can't wait to get back to. So it just, I don't know, man, just, it's amazing.
And last thing for me, Rose, I'm sure you'll want to enjoy the moment, but we always ask the champions, what do they want next? So, I mean, do you think about what comes after this? Does a rematch with her entice you to make sure that, everybody knows it wasn't a fluke? Do you see other top contenders? What do you think does come next?
Just taking some time off and just one day at a time, This is definitely a huge kind of change of pace, or I guess a new chapter in my life. So just kind of had to assess things, talk with my coaches and stuff like that. As far as a rematch, I think Joanna herself might need some time off as well.
A question here, Joanna. Congratulations on the belt, first
Thank
and
you.
foremost. After the fight, you said to Joe Rogan, this belt doesn't mean anything, be a good person.
Yeah.
So now that you're a champion and you can reach a greater audience, how do you want to get that message through?
Well, for one, I think that mixed martial arts has been, there's just been a lot of trash talking and things like that, and just people that I feel like, aren't really being true to themselves or being honest, and I don't know, maybe that's just, what they feel they need to do to entertain things, but I'm just kind of sick of it. I'm sick of all the hate and, anger and stuff like that going into, I feel like we have a duty as, fighters to try and be a better example. Martial arts is about honor and respect, it takes a lot of courage to get in that cage and, no matter who you are. So, I just want to try and set an example in that way. And then, just the rest of the world too. I think that there's a lot of, negativity out there. Everywhere you look is just negative all the time. And I'm just trying to be that positive light as much as possible. I mean, I'm not perfect either, but maybe this will, we'll figure out a way to make this world a better place.
And can you tell us how Pat Barry's reaction was backstage, and how is he feeling right now?
He's definitely probably feeling very similar to myself. Just, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Kind of numb to everything, actually.
Quick question for you. The punch that knocked Joanna down, you had a shifting left. You jucked out to the side a little bit on the left. Was that something you'd been looking for that whole fight, or was it just in the moment?
I saw it in the moment in the fight. I actually thought it was going to be my right hand that was going to get her, because that's just been landing in practice a lot. But, we've been working that leading left hook a lot with, Trevor Whitman has been elevating my boxing game like exponentially. So, that's been something that has been in the works for a long time. And, maybe we'll see my right hand later on.
Over here. Rose.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a week for you, obviously, from the press conference on. Fill in the blank right now. Rose is feeling what? Are you, do you want to say screw you to the doubters out there? Do you feel relieved? Do you feel stoked? Like, Rose is blank right now.
Rose is grateful. And Rose is content. Actually, what I said in my mantra that I kept saying all week was confidence, condition, composure, content. I'm a champion. And that's what I said in the fight. Once I knocked her down once, and then kind of just was like, my emotions were starting to get riled up a little bit, and I just did my mantra to calm me down and waited for the right opportunity.
Hi, Rose. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wonder how much the experience you had of being in a title fight before helped you in this one. I mean, did you draw anything from the last experience?
Yeah, for sure. You know, my first title fight, I kind of felt like similar, you know, walking to the cage where I couldn't see where I was going. And there's just a lot of chaos going on around me, lots of distractions, lots of things to pull away my focus. And, you know, I even almost like tripped on the way to the stage, and it got to me, you know. And this time I just related back to that experience and was like, you know, I can just breathe and I can counter this by just staying calm and not worrying about it.
And from your standpoint, you know, do you draw anything? You were quiet and Joanna talked. You know, Michael Bisping was talking. GSP wasn't. Cody and TJ, you know, didn't do so much. Do you think that the three people that kind of just remained quiet and did in the background, do you take anything from that, and does that have any significance?
You know, I've said before, leading up to this fight, that I feel like it's, you know, a time for a new era in this, you know, sport. I think we have a great opportunity as fighters and athletes to be good role models, you know. Like I said, I'm by no means perfect, you know, but I think we could try. And yeah, it's just hard, you know. Like I used to fight with hate, and sometimes, you know, there's been a lot of aggression in my past, growing up and stuff. But that's just because I was hurt, you know, myself. And so I learned that love is such a more sustainable energy to draw from than hate.
Can you elaborate on that, Rose? Because I know we were talking before about the volatility that you've experienced in your life, and here you are facing this undefeated, unbeatable perhaps fighter. How did you use your past to basically overcome the Joanna challenge?
I mean, I've had a lot of nightmares and dreams of just old, you know, memories haunting me and stuff. And she was just kind of, you know, I don't take it personally against her, you know. I think it's just, she was just a personification. Like, that's why I kept saying, like, it's just me that I'm fighting against, you know. All the stuff all the negativity that I felt coming from her, it just reminded me of where I came from, you know. And, you know, I wasn't going to let that shut me down, you know. And that's why, you know, she's a, you know, awesome fighter and stuff, but I've dealt with a lot worse in my life. Yeah.
How you doing, Rose?
Hey.
I only have one quick question. Can you tell us what Pat told you in your ear before you stepped into the octagon?
Yeah, every time he tells me something, like that moment, he always says something super like beautiful and poetic, but I just can never remember it because I'm so in the moment. Yeah, my bad. You can ask him if he remember, but he don't remember either.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, all you got to do is just be you. Yeah, that's usually
Thank you,
that's
Pat.
a good line. Yeah.
Rose, you were very open before the fight about your mental health difficulties, which is difficult for anyone to do, let alone someone who's in the public eye.
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to bring that out into the open? Was it for you doing that, or was it to help other people? Or both?
I was, you know, I've mentioned that it's a history of it in my family, and so that's something that I didn't have my dad in my life because of it, and you know, he has schizophrenia, and yeah, it's just something that I've only had my mom and my brother in the States, you know, other than like a few distant relatives, but all my family's in Lithuania, and you know, it's been a hard life, you know, a hard road coming up since I was little, and it's just something that, you know, I guess I'm really grateful for this opportunity to kind of like overcome this. And, you know, I'm kind of grateful that Joanna's tried to poke at that, because now I was able to look into it and read books on it and kind of study, really trying to understand what mental illness is. And I realized that we're all pretty normal. We're all kind of the same. We all got our issues, but it's something that we can get stronger at. It's just like your mind is just like your body. It's a muscle that you can train and you can get better at. Yeah, thank you guys.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson picked up a unanimous decision win over Jorge Masvidal. Good performance by Stephen Thompson. Didn't quite turn into quite the barn burner I think we hoped it would be. It certainly wasn't disappointing, but cautious at times. Masvidal is such a tough dude, man. He sign me up for a game bred fight anytime. Wonderboy is just a tough guy to figure out, man. His rhythm, his movement. It's just so unique.
Yeah, and I think the fact that his style really needs that distance to do what he does and throw those strikes out, so it's tough. How do you get close to him to really punch and do his things? I mean, definitely kudos. It makes you think about what Tyron Woodley was able to do, because I think most people assume that George was going to get in there and just really be able to lay a lot of hands on him. But
right.
Steven does a really good job of gauging that distance, and he's just crafty with the way he's able to throw those strikes from out of nowhere, man.
So great.
But it was fun.
He just missed a couple of those flashy high kicks along the way. It was a good fight. He apologized afterwards and said he could have turned in a better performance. I didn't think he had anything to apologize for. I thought it was great.
But George took one on the head. I remember one of the ones, and I was like, dude.
How's he standing there?
A lesser man like myself would have been out at that point, man. So kudos to him.
Good stuff. Wonderboy still keeps himself at the top of the picture and relevant. Paulo Costa, I'm not going to get used to that. I think he should just keep
Bohachina.
Keep Bohachina. He defeated Johnny Hendricks. I'll say this. Great performance from Bohachina. I think he went in there and did exactly what he was supposed to do. I will say this, kudos to Johnny Hendricks, who showed a lot of toughness, man. I think he could have folded in a lot of spots in there. Just the physical difference between these two was just unbelievable, man. I mean, we knew it from the time it was announced that it was going to be like a mismatch in terms of physiques and size and that sort of thing. I thought Hendricks, showed a lot of grit. I think he did start to land a little bit as Bohachina was trying to set up the big shot instead of just taking what was there. I think he was trying to, for a brief bit, he was trying to look for that highlight reel, and then he realized, hold on, I just got to go in there and get business done. But Bohachina, man, this is a dude to keep your eye on, man. He's young. He's learning English, which we saw. I thought this was a good night for him.
Yeah, I mean, and him and his team were super, super respectful of Johnny for taking the fight. They couldn't praise him enough. He said that's the kind of guy that should be. That's why Johnny is a great fighter. That's why he's a champion. He takes the fight that other guys didn't want. I mean, Paulo is a fucking specimen. I mean, dude has got tested multiple times from USADA, passed every test. I mean, if that's what genetics are, and that's the kind of stuff that fighters in that division need to watch out for, I mean, holy cow. I mean, the dude's, he's got the complete package, and his striking was incredible, but I thought it was really, really amazing how respectful they were of Johnny and his performance and talking of Johnny's toughness. So if you want to hear that, go to our YouTube or go to Junkie and make sure you catch that interview. I think you guys will like this guy, but you're right, man. Doing the English, I mean, the dude's got the looks, man. This guy's got definitely star quality, and especially he was dangerous, man. He is devastating. He was sharp. Johnny has some tells too. After a while, he does a lot of ducking when he comes in to try to, duck that punch and then come up with a hook or something. But Paul was tossing that the upper hook, up. And was catching him.
There was one point where it wasn't where the finish was, but it was just one point where they were literally right in front of us, and it would have been right in front of Paris position too, where Bohachina just lands a big right hand and then a knee up the middle.
Yeah, the knee.
And it was just oh God, the sound that it made, it was just oh Christ, this is dangerous.
Johnny's
called
tough
out,
dude, man. He took a lot of damage.
Hendricks is tough, man. Bohachina called out Derek Brunson afterward. Brunson immediately took to Twitter and said, "You're 100% on the juice. Win some more fights. I'm not interested."
He addressed that in the post presser as well, in the post as well, and just laughed and thinks that he's a joke and thinks that he's scared. That's the only reason. And I asked him if he was also trying to get that back because he had just recently beat Machida, trying to get a little something back for the Brazilians because he feels that the Brazilian legends of old, have kind of weaned off a little bit. Anderson ain't what Anderson used to be.
Right.
Vitor ain't what he used to be. Machida just got beat. He feels that he's the beginning of the next group of Brazilian legends that will be out there. And I was a little surprised when he said the Brunson, but he made it seem like it was just because of number, because he's higher.
Yeah.
Brunson came down there and did, and took out Machida. But I think there is part of that is that Brazilian pride, and maybe I'm wrong, but he didn't certainly admit it. But it didn't seem like it was just because it was a number. But who knows? But that could be a fun fight.
I agree. James Vick, speaking of Brazilian legends, let's talk about Texas legend, the Texecutioner. James Vick picked up a TKO win over Joseph Duffy with 1 second left on the clock in the second round. Good fight, man. This is a fun fight. Vick ends up getting the job done. And I mean, this was just a fun fight. I think Duffy was definitely frustrated with the result, but I thought he looked good, man. His boxing is just so pretty to watch, man. His head movement, the angles that he picked. Vick, I think, was actually throwing too many kicks. I thought Vick was actually having a really good success with his jab. I thought he was kind of wasting some time with the kicks. To be honest with you, I think just the boxing was fun to watch between these two, and I love it. Vick gets on the mic afterwards and just calls out everybody, says, I've called out this guy and that guy and that guy, and nobody will fight me, and so somebody better step up and fight me in my home state of Texas. There's a show in Austin, which I was excited to hear about tonight. I love getting a free trip back home to see family. Obviously, I'm from the Dallas area, but Austin is good. And I think that makes sense. James Vick, 8-1.
Yeah.
8-1 in the UFC.
Yeah, it's crazy he's not ranked higher. Just as he said, man, he should be ranked higher. And you never know, man. Shelby and them don't do something. He might be squaring up with Shelby before long.
Ooh, that would not be pretty. That would not be pretty. Mark Godbeer picked up a DQ win over Walt Harris via an illegal kick. I love Walt Harris.
Yeah.
He is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. He's definitely not a dirty fighter, a dirty person or whatever. But the bottom line is, dude, he messed up here. Like that to me, this was 100% disqualification. And I love Walt, and I'd be more than happy to tell him. Like I always say, don't say anything you wouldn't say to his face.
Yeah.
Walt Harris is an MMA junkie supporter, and I love him talking to him. But I just think he had a mental lapse here, man. The referee was clearly stepping in, trying to call time for an illegal blow. I thought it was. I haven't watched.
Was he?
I'll be the counterpoint.
I'll be the counterpoint. Watching it how I saw it, and it looked maybe it was just the camera view that I saw. The only thing I could credit was the fact that he even said something to the ref, like, I didn't hear you calling me. But as Mark or Godbeer was going off to the left after he was sort of first done, he's going off to the left. The ref is off to the right.
Right.
Walt started making his move in and turned to the left, where the ref was over here further to the right. And you can hear him on the recording, and you can see him. He starts to say, "Stop, stop." The kick was already in motion before what looked to me like that the ref would have been coming into his view. So I think that it could quite possibly that he was already moving in that direction, because it looked to me like, oh, he's wounded.
Mm-hmm.
He's wounded. Maybe he didn't realize that he did the knee, and he was just like, because it was a knee to the groin, right?
Yeah, the original
The original
blow.
thing was the knee to the groin, And then he looked like he was wounded. So I could see where in his brain he's like, okay, he's wounded. I need to take him down now. So then he starts going. The ref starts saying, stop, 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 coming in. But it wasn't like they were on the same plane when it first happened, because since Mark went to the left.
I could see that to a degree. I mean, you can see.
Right.
Actually, Perez got a great picture right here. We don't have the video replay, but Perez got a great picture of what's happening. I mean, that's just hard, man.
Yeah, but that's frame. You got to go frames before that.
Right.
There he's actually making contact.
Yeah.
But he starts saying stop when he's further off to the right.
Because he's southpaw.
And look, right there, he's turning into him right there. But you have to think he
southpaw.
started all the way over
on his
here.
right hand side. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, I guess we got now. You're making me doubt myself, and I got to watch.
Well, I mean, go back and watch the video. But when I looked at it, I didn't think it was like anything atrocious. I mean, I can see where they did it, but I mean.
Listen, I'm not trying to say the guy needs to be thrown in jail for a crime or anything.
No, but I could also see why he got upset, why there was the DQ, because when I looked at it, it looked like, oh, okay, and he probably got tunnel vision. As soon as he saw that he was wounded, his opponent starts to turn away. It was probably tunnel vision. He's like, I need to go in oh, I can take his head
Yep.
as he's putting his head down, not even hearing the ref starting to say stop, because it took a second for the ref to even say stop. And I think it was on the second stop where he was already extending the kick up to hit him when the ref grabbed him. And it's not like you can just stop that motion after that point.
A powerful high kick like that is kind of hard to pull back.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just my view or whatever. But I mean, I have no horse in the race. I really don't care either or. But that's how I sort of perceived it. I wasn't like, oh my God, that guy's so dirty.
No.
And I didn't hear anybody in the back saying it either.
No, I didn't think he's dirty. I just thought it was a mistake. You know, just like a shouldn't have done it. You know,
Right.
But I'll go back and watch it. You might now that I'm replaying it in my head, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I will say this: I saw a lot of people on Twitter, you know, kind of coming out and saying, well, Godbeer could have continued. He was milking it to get out of there. I don't think that's the case, man. I think the problem was, I think he was already hurt, not because of the kick.
Hurt.
Not because of the kick. I think the kick sealed the deal, but I don't think the kick is what caused the damage. It's just incredibly unfortunate because, as he was walking by press row, he was talking to his coach, and he wasn't looking at us. He was looking the other way, but I could hear him, and he was like, so what happened? Like, so he had no idea what happened. If he doesn't know what happened, that's a sign that he had a concussion and that he didn't need to be in there. I think it was the right call to stop the fight. You know, I didn't hear the exact conversation that the doctors had, but I think they assessed him correctly. It sucks because if the illegal blow didn't happen, he'd be fighting on. But since it did get stopped and a doctor did come in and evaluate him, I get it. Guys fight through flash knockdowns. Guys fight through, you know, people are like, I don't remember the final 3 rounds of a fight or whatever. I mean, like, I get that. But if a fight is stopped and a doctor comes in to assess and I see that, I don't think you should send them back out there.
Yeah, and this was right after the other stoppage.
Oh.
So there was even a moment there where the doctor came out, and you could tell he didn't want to be there for sure either. He was... You know, even though the supposed kick or whatever, the flick of the kick of the ear, you know, when the doctor's talking, you could see him sort of pointing at his whole face, like, you know, whatever, and he just couldn't continue or whatever. So, I don't know. Yeah, it sucks that it ended that way because I think that fight was looking to be a lot of fun. But I didn't feel like it was anything crazy. But again, maybe I need to go back and look at it, and I could see maybe more malice or ill intentions going with it. But at the time I thought it was more of a mistake than anything else. So
I hope they give Walt another shot. I mean, Walt has had such an up and down career, and his UFC record is not great. But I hope they give him another shot because he is a great guy, and he was looking good in that fight, to be honest with you. Ovin Prue picked out a head kick knockout over Corey Anderson. Brutal finish here, man. Amazing work by Ovin St. Preux. Of course,
man.
you were in Tokyo for his last fight, so you've been spending a lot of time around OSPs on a heck of a roll. It's tough, man, because I thought Corey Anderson was fighting a decent fight. I mean, he was getting touched up, but he was being aggressive. His wrestling was good. He was getting touched up in striking spots, but I didn't think it was a bad fight for Corey Anderson.
Nope.
You know, fighting a big name. This was a big moment for him, and then to get finished like that just sucks.
Yeah. No, I mean, granted, it was one of those fights where I was kind of working a lot of it during the fight, so I wasn't just watching it. But every time I look up, Corey had somehow OSP on the ground or against the cage, you know, and he was imposing his will at times. So, I mean, he was definitely fighting a good fight, you know. But that's the
brutal nature of this sport,
brutal nature of this game. And, man, OSP, man, dude, not that I want to suggest take fights on short notice, man, but
it's working out
this whole week he was just focused and just there was something just sort of different. Maybe it was the different hairstyle.
I don't know about the haircut. I'm not sure if I was feeling the haircut.
But fuck, if it makes you do that, you know, keep the hair, bro.
Randy Brown picked up a decision win over Mickey Gall. Look, Mickey Gall's still early in his career.
Yeah.
I thought Randy Brown looked really, really good. Mickey Gall showed a lot of heart, man, coming back and winning the second round.
Yeah.
I actually scored the fight a draw. I had that a second round of 10-8. I probably scored it wrong. It probably wasn't enough for a 10-8, but I thought it was pretty dominant. You know, he spent so much time in top position. I have no problem with the 29-28s whatsoever. Mickey Gall, I still think there's a huge upside to this guy, man. I think he's got the look, he's got the swagger, he's got the promotional skills, he's got the fighting skills. I mean, I think he's the whole package. I just think it's been, you know, dude, it's not easy developing in the UFC spotlight. And I thought, you know, Randy Brown looked really good tonight. That dude, his frame, his size, dude, he's problematic.
Yeah, and it was kind of interesting for him. I mean, he's like the hometown dude. I mean, I think he's from Queens or
Right.
something, but Mickey was getting all the love. People were booing him. He's like, what the hell's going on? But that's the nature, the unfortunate side of sometimes, like the UFC finds these guys and they hype them up. And not that Mickey doesn't need that. I really like Mickey, and I think Mickey has a great upside for this game. I think he's going to be, I mean, he's already, in a sense, a star on his way. He's done everything right so far in terms of promoting himself, and he's went out there and he's done what he needed to do. And again, today he showed a lot of heart. Brown just really impressed me with his performance. I mean, I think he looked sharper than ever. I think he came in with a chip on his shoulder.
I agree.
Being in his
Super
hometown,
aggressive,
but,
man.
let alone, but then making him, like, booing him when he's walking out. He's like, what is wrong with you people? And he realized that UFC hasn't done their best job at hyping him,
Right.
So maybe with a performance like this and doing, like, what they, we've seen before, Sage and Orca was, like, one of the guys that was just, like, you could do no wrong. But, as he lost, the guys that beat him were kind of able to take a little bit of that. So hopefully Randy will get a little bit of that respect that he deserves for something like this. And now he's the
looking for a fight champ.
He is the looking for the fight welterweight champion.
So he's looking to defend the title. Curtis Blades picked up a TKO win via doctor stoppage over Alexei Olenek. I gotta say, I think the commission nailed this one. Hell, we even had a little bit of an internal argument on the MMA Junkie staff over whether this was the right call or not. But in my opinion, this was the exact right stoppage. Again, Curtis Blades was hurting Alexei Olenek. And then Alexei was trying to get up, and Curtis threw the kick, which would have been an illegal kick. Well, it was an illegal kick, and it did land slightly, but it just kind of grazed. And it was funny because the angle that I was sitting at, like, I could literally, I had the perfect angle, and I could see, like, it basically missed. You know what I mean? Like, it may have, grazed the ear a little bit, but it was like, it didn't make a sound. You know what I mean? There was literally no audible noise whatsoever.
It's like all those old martial arts movies that you see, or some of the ones where they're like, I'm going to one finger punch, and like 3 dudes fall down behind them.
It was like that. I was just like, and so, then they stopped the fight for the illegal blow, and it was, again, it was a mental mistake. He shouldn't have thrown the kick when he threw it, but again, you're trying to get that finish. These are 2 big dudes going at it. And I thought the TKO stoppage was the right call here, and I'm really glad the commission got it right, because I think this would have been a damn shame to either DQ Curtis Blades or to even just call it a no contest. To me, the performance that he turned in, the way he fought, and again, I don't think Alexei Olenek was trying to fake anything or whatever. He was hurt because he'd already been rocked by other shots. You know what I mean?
He was rocked. He was hurt
bad.
He didn't want to be in there anymore.
No, and I think I don't know, man. I think this was the right call, and I was kind of happy to see it because the way everything played out, I was like,
and they used the instant replay.
I loved it. I thought it was the right call. I just want to praise everybody involved. I thought it was the right call. And man, Curtis Blades, that dude, I like him. First of all, I think he's got a great personality. I think he's a humble dude, and he is dangerous when he starts throwing blows.
Yeah, I think his striking looked better, and I even told him in the back, I was like, I think your striking looked better than ever.
Yep.
He was a little upset that he didn't get a chance to kind of spotlight it more and actually get that finish.
Right.
You're happy with the win. It was going to go there eventually.
Right.
You just don't want to get it that way. He didn't want to get that win that way, but yeah, he did damage. Alexei didn't want to stay in there any longer.
Nah. And the night we touched on it, but the night kicked off with Ricardo Ramos picking up that nasty spinning back elbow knockout.
That was nasty.
It wasn't as nasty as when Dong and Kim knocked out John Hathaway, where I definitely thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Because that was scary. But this was great, and I thought this was a fun fight. I mean,
only second time, right?
Yeah, only second time.
The second time we've had a spinning back fist knockout.
It was just amazing. Zahabi, I think, is still a very talented prospect. I don't think you lose anything here.
Yeah.
But we had said there's some buzz around Ramos, and man, he is fun, man, and he's definitely capable of spectacular things. So, dude, UFC 217, thefreshly.com of UFC cards, just the absolute best.
Dude, I would just gobble it up like some Freshly shit.
Well, here's what we got to gobble up right now. We got to get packed up. We got to head to the airport. We're actually leaving in literally just a few minutes, but I'm glad we got to get together and talk about this because I was just like shaking, man. I was like, just it
was incredible, especially
my veins.
Yeah, even just going through the card again, top to bottom, man, that was pretty darn spectacular. And even though, like we said, history can't shape itself by what's currently ahead of us, right now this does feel like it is definitely one of the best cards we've seen in a while. In the top 3 fights for sure. That's probably my favorite 3 threesome of title fights. I mean, that's gonna be tough to beat right there.
It's nuts, man.
You can't script that either.
You can't. 3 titles changing. Yeah. Well, the UFC rolls into Virginia next week. Our own Matt Erickson will be out there. Of course, we'll have full coverage as MMA Junkie always does. But we will not be there, but that'll give us a chance to slow down a little bit, because I got a feeling people are going to be talking about 217 all week long.
Yep, I know we will be.
All right, we got to pack up. Hey, for anybody that's still here, thanks for listening.
We'll be right back.